Welcome back to QAV America, Tony, episode 37. It is 27th of January 2026 in Australia. It's 1935 in the United States.
Well, and also very cold, apparently. My condolences to anybody who's been affected by the freak cold snap over there, where it's not usually happening.
My regular co-host in my history shows, Ray Harris, is in Virginia, sent me a photo out of his window earlier today. There's a lot of snow outside the front of his house.
Well, we're sweltering.
Yes.
Unseasonably warm here. It's like
yes,
Melbourne's fifth day of over 40 degrees Celsius.
Warmest place on the planet, apparently. Australia is right now.
What's 43 degrees Celsius in American terms? It'd be 110 maybe Fahrenheit.
Oh, yeah, bloody hot, Tony, bloody hot. Well, look, before I get into my deep dive, my little walk down Wall Street today, Tony, we had the Sell America trade going on last week when Donald Trump threatened to throw more tariffs on Europe. But we just made a deal, they said. I don't care, he said. Deal schmeal. I'm the art of the deal. I just break the deal and throw more things in. But then he tacoed on that, as he often does when they agreed to let him invade Greenland or whatever the hell he's going to do today. So the market had a bit of a conniption for a few days. It did affect our US portfolio. Let me just bring that up.
It was in a good way, wasn't it?
Tell you. Well, look, our portfolio, our main US portfolio that I've been running for a couple of years is doing great. The new one that I started, the light portfolio that doesn't have its legs under it yet, and a lot of the stocks that I'm buying were very close to their sell lines anyway. They just etched above them, became a buy. I've had to sell a couple. But, it looks like our US one has gone back a little bit too. Anyway, for the last 30 days, our US dummy portfolio, main one, is up 15% versus the S&P 500 up 0.29% in the last 30 days. So it's doing all right.
A year's worth of performance in a month.
Since inception.
Yeah.
Since inception, which is September 2023, our portfolio is up 92% versus the S&P up 56%. So not quite double market, but doing pretty good. Like in the last 30 days, last 3 months, it's up 21% versus the S&P up 2.3%. So it's particularly since the beginning of the year, it's done quite well. The light portfolio, though, that I only started a month or so ago, I think late December, not doing as well. It's down 2.5% since I started it versus the S&P up 1%. And I have had to sell a couple of things. Recently, I sold AMCX this week. AMC Networks breached their 3-point trend line. And also AMTD, idea that we talked about recently. No, hold on, I haven't sold those. They are a sell, but I'm holding on to them just because I'm being
breaking the rules
about it. I told you last week, I'm giving all of these stocks a month to settle in before I sell them because they're so close to their sell lines when I buy them. They go up $1, they go down $1, But I did sell GTN Media last week, which I'd held on to for about a month, and AMCX I'd held for about a month. So I was like, well, that's it. Your grace period is over. But VLRS that I added last week is up a couple of points, that's good. And I've also added the stock that I'm going to talk about today, which is ticker code CHRD, Chord Energy, aka the Williston Whale. A Symphony of Shale is the title.
Very good.
This episode that Google Gemini came up with that for me. I said, come up with a clever title. That's what it came up with. The Williston Whale, A Symphony of Shale. Now, I don't know a lot about, we've talked about shale from time to time on our podcast, particularly when we're talking about crude oil and the markets and pricing. But I'm not sure that we've done a deep dive on a shale oil company before. And what I've learnt in doing this is a lot of developments in shale oil technology, largely driven by this company in the last couple of years. So it's a whole new era of shale oil and fracking that changes the dynamics and the economics of shale oil, in theory. We'll see how it plays out, but that's the theory. So, the Williston whale. Williston is a city in North Dakota, Tony. Everything I know about North Dakota, I know from watching Deadwood, and I think Fargo.
Fargo's Minneapolis, isn't it? Minnesota? Whatever. Yep. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, could be. Sure. That's all I know. That shows you how much I know. I don't know anything. It was Williston was founded in 1887, named after Daniel Willis James, a merchant and capitalist, by his friend railroad magnate James J. Hill.
So wasn't named after Willis Lease Financing then? They should name a town after them.
No, it wasn't. Who's the number one?
Yeah.
Well, we'll name a town after them because they're up 300% in our US portfolio. Wasn't named after what you're talking about, Willis, either, or Bruce Willis. So they were my first two guesses. It is the birthplace of Phil Jackson, 11-time NBA championship head coach of the Chicago Bulls. I think also the Lakers he went to after the Bulls, if I remember the Michael Jordan documentary. We often talk about don't bench Michael Jordan, and Phil Jackson never did bench Michael Jordan, and that's why he won a lot of NBA championships. So crude oil is a buy on our buy list this week. For new listeners to QAV, one of the things that we track each week is where certain commodities are, because particularly in Australia, a lot of the stocks in our buy lists are mining stocks, and Tony has learnt over the years he's been investing that if the underlying commodity of a stock becomes a buy or a sell based on its trend line, stocks that are predicated on that ore or that commodity, whatever it is, their share price will tend to follow. There'll be a lag, but tends to follow. So if a commodity becomes a buy, we then are able to buy the share price. If it too becomes a buy, the stock. And if a stock with an underlying commodity and that commodity becomes a sell, we will often sell it. Crude and LNG have both been sells for us for quite a while. They both became buys again this week. Whether or not that has anything to do with Venezuela,
Greenland,
don't know.
Who knows?
But your theory that Donald Trump's going to put tow Greenland down to Venezuela and join them together.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
So he can go skiing. Now he's the president of Venezuela. He can go skiing in Greenland
and surfing in Venezuela.
Who knows? Got the best of both worlds. Speaking of midnight oil. So imagine this, Tony. You're standing in the middle. Midnight Oil. We were just talking about Australian rock band Midnight Oil, not shale oil. I don't know which oil Midnight Oil is, but it's black like midnight. The drummer of 1970s Australian, well, they've been around since the 70s, Midnight Oil. The founding member and drummer, Rob Hurst, passed away this week. It's very sad if you're an Australian rock fan. And if you're not, if you don't know Midnight Oil, you're an American, jump on Spotify or Apple Music and have a listen to some of the greatest hits of Midnight Oil. You probably know a couple of them because I think they got quite a bit of traction in the US over in the 90s.
But they wouldn't like us talking about a shale oil company, I don't think.
No, they were environmentally greeny rock band, very political. So imagine this, you're standing in the middle of a frozen North Dakota field. Beneath your feet, a drill bit has gone down, and then, look at my broken knuckle. See that finger? I can't, if you're not on video, you're missing the visual. My broken knuckle finger. This cannot go, I can't straighten it out. The bit is doing a 90-degree turn and traveling 4 miles
into somebody else's oil field, into a Canadian oil field. Yeah, right.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Saddam
this is like,
Hussein would have loved this.
wasn't it the
Going
Simpsons
all the way to
episode where they
Kuwait.
discovered oil beneath the school? And they had all these meetings about what to do with it, and everyone thought they were going to be rich until Monty Burns brought in the Slant Drilling Company, went underground and stole all the oil. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what Saddam Hussein accused
Right.
Kuwait of doing back that led to Gulf War I. So it's cracking through rock harder than a sidewalk. The company doing it was left for dead in 2020, but today is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the Bakken. When I first read that, I thought the Bakken was either a mythological underwater monster from a
The
Lovecraft
Kraken.
book, or was a bad guy from like a Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
I think
right.
like the big boss you have to fight in Mortal Kombat is the Bakken. But the Bakken Formation is a massive 200,000 square mile subterranean geological unit spanning North Dakota, Montana, and Canada, which is known for harboring vast reserves of unconventional oil and natural gas. And that's what these guys are tapping into. They're the Frankenstein of the Bakken, though, because they were built out of the dead bodies of other oil companies, fracking companies.
That's a great image.
And fracking companies themselves are, mining dead animals. So this is a company built on the dead companies that were built on the dead animals of the whatever period the Bakken oil reserves come from. So its ancestors were two companies called Oasis Petroleum and Whiting Petroleum. They were two rivals that were doing fracking in the Williston Basin. During the shale boom of the 2010s, they fought over the North Dakota dirt and the oil underneath it. Then came 2020, COVID hit, and I had forgotten this, but the oil price didn't just drop. It went negative at one point. It was negative $37 a barrel at one point. You had to pay people to take your
well, you were
oil.
paying for storage at one point, weren't you? Because you couldn't sell it. Yeah.
That's right. It was a disaster. So both of these companies went bankrupt. But the way that they went bankrupt.
Chapter 11.
Well, yeah, but the kind of Chapter 11 bankruptcy that they took was not good for the shareholders.
Never
The
is.
shareholders ended up with, well, yes, but they ended up with not nothing, but almost nothing. The best, like, yeah.
They were the Seymour Skinner of the shale oil industry. I thought they were sitting on an oil reserve under the school, but
oh, yeah.
It's gone.
So, Chord hasn't just stopped with those two. It's a bit of a predator. They also, in 2024, bought a company called Enerplus, which is a massive Canadian-based fracking company in an $11 billion deal. So they now control 1.3 million net acres, which is an area larger than the state of Delaware, and have become basically the dominant force in fracking in North Dakota. But let's get into this history a little bit, because I assume that the reason it's cheap in our buy list this week is because institutional investors don't want to touch it after what happened to it 5 or 6 years ago. So Shale 1.0, 2010s, these two companies, Oasis and Whiting, were the poster children. They had spent billions to drill in North Dakota, but they had borrowed those billions of dollars. So between them, they were carrying over $5 billion in debt. When COVID hit, share price crashed, and it was a big disaster. So they went belly up, and it wasn't just COVID that hit as well. OPEC Plus, Saudi Arabia and Russia saw that as a great opportunity to kill these American companies. So there was an all-out price war that went along at the same time.
Yep.
and they were specifically targeting high-cost producers, US shale producers, and flooded the market with cheap oil, and that sort of killed these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, but both of these companies used what's called a pre-packaged Chapter 11. I think of it as a bit like a prenup. When they went into Chapter 11, the deal was the company made a deal with the banks and the bondholders. That was a total transfer of power over to them. And they forgave billions of dollars in debt in control for 100% of the new company's stock. And that totally erased all of the Wall Street pension funds and index funds equity in these companies.
Yeah, right.
There was no recovery. There was no 10 cents in the dollar. It was just immediately gone, cancelled, declared worthless. Thanks for coming. Have a nice day. If you owned 1,000 shares on Friday, you woke up on Monday with dust. That was it. It was done. There were lottery ticket warrants. So to avoid sort of legal warfare, apparently old shareholders were given warrants, long-term options.
Mm-hmm.
But the strike price was set at, for Oasis, $94.57. That was so high, it felt like a joke at the time. And in fact, the share price for Chord Energy today is $95.53. So it is only now back to where it was. I mean, so it did get higher than this by the looks of it. 2024 it was up as high as $160, $185 actually. But they basically, at the time, it looked like that was a joke, but that was what they were left with. They were offered these warrants. So that's sort of the background story with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And the oil price has been down, as we know, for the last year. Their share price has gone down with it. I assume that that's a large part of why the share price has collapsed since the $185 days. They're also a pure play. I guess that's one of the challenges with these guys. So they've got a dirty history. Oil's been down. They're not like a Chevron where they've got oil fields all over the place doing different things. It's basically North Dakota. If North Dakota goes bad, then you get hit with problems. Tax laws, pipeline freezes, I don't know, these sorts of issues can have. But the guy that runs the company, a guy called Danny Brown, who's the CEO, he's a mechanical engineer by trade. He runs the company like a semiconductor fab. And as I mentioned earlier on, there's this new technology.
Like a what?
A semiconductor fab. He runs it like an engineer. Like he's not a flashy showboat kind of guy. He runs a pretty clean, brutal operation by the sounds of it. And they've been the key proponents in this, what's called the 4-mile lateral. So they're the world leader in horizontal drilling. There used to be 2 miles was the best you could do. They can now do 4 miles. It's fairly new, I think, the last couple of years. And it's a pretty big deal. Basically, as I said at the beginning, you drill a vertical hole, you hit the oil. You used to just do that and stop.
Yeah.
But then you go down, you stop, you turn, and you keep going. And you can, I feel like, almost double your output with no extra price. Apparently all of the cost is the initial drill down. Once you drill down, everything you get out of that horizontal layer then is cream, right?
I imagine there's also
oily cream.
You get to pick, you can drill down in soft rock, which would be much easier than drilling through hard rock. Because the other option is to move the rig to a different location and go straight down again. Yeah.
So it's about 70 football fields is how far they can go horizontally. And apparently the rock layer that you're going through is about the size of a house. So it's not huge.
Okay.
Once you get it, you want to suck it dry like a vampire, like Blade. He's only half vampire and he doesn't like to drink blood. He has a serum that he takes that stops him from having the hunger. Sorry, I've been watching Blade films, listeners, if you're wondering why I'm going on about Blade. I'm going back to the old Blade films. They're pretty awesome. First one, awesome. So their break even, now we've talked about shale on the show over the years, and we've talked about how shale oil companies only make money when the oil price is high. If it drops, they're screwed because they're high cost producers. That's apparently no longer true.
They're kind of always viewed as a sponge because of the oil industry, because it's self-fulfilling. Once they start to, they can produce when the price is high, and what's the cure for high prices? More volume. So they flood the market, which drives the price down, and they have to shut up again. So yeah, they're the kind of top of the cycle
wavy fingers
producers.
in the air.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They're the peak oil producers.
Well, peak oil means something.
Well, apparently,
different, big
yeah,
price.
that's right. That doesn't really work, does it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently that's no longer true with these guys. So they can make money even if the oil drops down to $50 a barrel.
No, that's good.
They're making a ton of cash off of what they're operating with no debt because they offloaded all their debt. So they got rid of all their debt a few years ago. It was a great deal. It's a Donald Trump kind of deal. I just go bankrupt, get rid of all my debt, keep running. He'd love this company, I'm sure. So the shale, I was having a conversation with Gemini about this, and I was like, I thought shale companies, could only make money when the price was high. And they go, well, that's the Shale 1.0 argument. That was true 10 years ago, no longer true. That's an out-of-date argument, it says. So, combination of not just the 4-mile laterals, but also massive consolidation. And the best-in-class operators like Chord have low break-evens, even in the low 40s or the 50s.
Okay.
It says Saudi Arabia can pump oil for $10 a barrel, but they need $80 oil to fund their national budget, social programs, all of that kind of stuff. Chord doesn't have to fund a country. It just has to fund a balance sheet, and it can survive at lower prices than OPEC can, I reckon. So, and I guess Putin needs to fund a war machine. So these guys, we used to have this idea that when the price dropped, shale oil companies needed to stop. Yeah. Apparently that's no longer true. What they probably won't do is sink new wells if the price drops.
Yep.
But wells that they've already got running, they can keep running and can keep generating cash. Once it's drilled, once it's fracked, they can keep sucking it dry, and apparently the cost is as low as like $15 a barrel to keep pulling it out. So it's not that much more expensive than Saudi oil. They don't shut down old wells, they just stop drilling new ones. So apparently this is the secret weapon, is that it's modular. If Exxon is building a $10 billion offshore platform in Guyana, they're committed for 30 years. If the oil price crashes tomorrow, they still have to finish that $10 billion project. Chord's business is modular. They spend their money in relatively small increments, $10 million, like one well at a time. If the market gets ugly, they just stop the next increment, but they can keep, sucking oil out of what they've got. They're not expensive, and they're adaptable to the price if they keep their costs down and they run a lean, mean sort of an operation. The other part of the shale oil myth that I drilled down on is this idea that they fizzle out pretty quickly.
Yep.
That it loses about 60 to 70% of its production in the first year, which is something I'd always heard. So you have to keep moving around, you have to keep drilling. Apparently the counter argument to that is they get most of their money back in the first 12 to 18 months. They're not waiting 20 years to see a return on this. So yeah, it costs them $10 million to drill, but they get it all back, most of it back in the first year, and then they're making profit, anything that they get after that. So it's a sort of a, I don't know, it's like a, what do you call this? Pop-up stores in supermarkets?
Pop-up
Do a
stores.
pop-up store and sell mobile phones, They pop up quickly, make their money, and then they can get out. So the bankruptcies didn't happen because the business model failed. It happened because the capital structure failed, and it was a bit of a black swan event too. But now the new Chord in 2026 has almost zero debt, low break even, and is returning cash to shareholders. So I'll run through the numbers now so you see what I'm talking about. Share price, as I said, is about $95. Market cap is about 5.4 billion USD. Their EPS at the moment is about $9.16. Their forecast EPS out a year is $9.52. Their yield at the moment is 5.44. PE is running about 10.4. Operating cash flow is about 2.2 billion at the moment, according to Stockopedia. Pretty large volume. Average volume is about 747 million daily trade, so pretty big. Petrovsky F score is about a 6, pretty good. The quality rank is only a 64. Stock rank's only a 64 in Stockopedia, so it doesn't really float our bubbles there. Or the quality rank's good. We'll score anything over a 60. But the key thing, of course, that we look at is price to operating cash flow. The price to operating cash flow is 2.47. Not as low as some of the companies we've seen recently, but pretty low.
Yeah.
And it's generating a ton of cash. It's when I went through the checklist, it scored for quality rank. As I said, it's a 64. We'll score anything over a 60. Didn't score for stock rank. Did score for F score. The price isn't lower than our IV number one. Our IV number one is $47, but it is lower than our IV number two, which is $98.80. So it's slightly less than that, but that's good enough. Price is lower than book. The book price is, where's the book? Price to book I've got at 0.67. Where's the book price? Equity per share is $141.98. So it scored for price lower than book. Obviously also scores for price lower than book plus 30. Does have a new 3-point upturn. Growth over PE is not greater than 1.5 though. PE is not lower than the yield. Bank is not higher than, so the yield is not higher than the mortgage rate. Forecast IV is not greater than double the share price. But it scored for 11 out of 14, got a quality score of 79% and a QAV score of 0.32. So there you go. That's the Shale Oil Company.
I saw a couple of things too in their announcements, which I liked. So they've been doing a big share buyback, and their policy apparently is to use free cash flow either for buybacks or dividends or both. They've been returning all surplus free cash flow to shareholders, which I like. They bought back a heck of a lot. They bought back $216.5 million last year of shares. So they're really helping shareholders out there.
They're trying to make good.
Yeah.
Hey, you remember us? We burnt you? Well, look, now we're good guys.
Yeah, so they're doing all that. Dividends high, big buyback, so helping to put a floor under the share price. They're still active. Despite all that, they're still active in the M&A space. So as you said, they bought Enerplus last year, and that was a huge expansion for them in the Williston basis. They expected to get $150 million of annual cost and efficiency synergies when they proposed that acquisition. And now that they've got the company and they're operating both of them, they're now forecasting to get $200 million annually in operations synergy, so that's pretty good. Their operating cash flow jumped sharply after the closing of that deal on Enerplus. So they reported a 61% year-over-year increase in operating cash flow for quarter one, 2025, as a result of the integration. So they're throwing off a lot more cash than they were. They're either putting it to use to expand via M&A, or they're giving it back to shareholders. So that's pretty good. What else did I see about them? I like them. Their latest numbers were great. Q3 2025, net income was 130 million, which is 226 per share. Actually, sorry, it was down. So they came down this year from 226 from 359. And they reported a net loss of 40 million this quarter, but that was a book loss. So primarily due to $539 million non-cash goodwill impairment charge recorded because of the Enerplus acquisition. Right. So profit was down, but because of the non-cash items, and they're still not really reflecting the Enerplus acquisitions in their results yet. They expect to see them in the next quarter coming through, so that's a good thing too. I did want to highlight that there is some risk. We've spoken about a lot of risk already in terms of the oil price and what could happen, but they're also almost entirely reliant on shipping their oil through the Dakota Access Pipeline, DAPL, which is a major crude oil pipeline running from the Bakken fields to the Three Forks oil fields in North Dakota, and then onto Illinois, spanning over 1,100 miles. And the upside of that is, of course, it's very direct and efficient for transporting crude oil, but it does come with risks, environmental risks, operational risks, political risks. Oil pipelines have long been contentious, particularly in North America, oftentimes from getting Canada's oil down to US refineries and ports. This particular pipeline still does have ongoing legal challenges, coming mainly from the Standing Rock Sioux tribe on environmental grounds. So they claim that the DAPL violates treaties and sovereignty, and depending on how those legal challenges go, could result in issues either from paying the Standing Rock Sioux tribe royalties or more royalties, but could also mean rerouting or dramatic changes to the pipeline. So there are some risks because of the pipeline. I think I would rate those as fairly low to moderate. There's always the risk with a pipeline that it bursts or that it leaks or something like that. So there's a threat of environmental disaster. If it's a large-scale environmental disaster, that becomes quite major. But these pipelines tend to be pretty robust and well maintained. So the probability of that happening is low. It's more likely, I think, that one of the legal challenges causes them a financial impact. So just wanted to call that one out as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this company has contingency plans in place if something happens to the pipeline, either through road or rail transport as a backup, at least, if not through other pipelines that it could potentially use. But all in all, it's a strikingly good company throwing off lots of cash. As you say, the economics of the industry's changed. They can make money at low prices. They you wouldn't say control the Bakken field, but certainly are the biggest player in the Bakken field, which has got to come with some benefits, I would have thought. Oftentimes the biggest player is the first person you turn to if you're trying to sell. So that's got to give them some advantages and economies of scale. The Enerplus acquisition is proving even better than they first thought. I like what I see with this company, and the policy of giving back free cash flow to shareholders in terms of dividends and share buybacks is got to be good too.
They're shareholder-friendly.
Chord is
leading with love.
It was Oasis and Whiting. They were crap. They were terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who? Never heard of them. All right. So that was our, thank you, Tony. That's our deep dive for the week. I did add them to the QAV Light portfolio yesterday, sent an email out to our QAV Light members. So it is up 0.4% since then. So that's good. Heading in the right direction.
Yeah. And
We'll see how it goes.
As we said on the other show, the Australian show, that it's often, many times when I started portfolios, they've underperformed until you get 15 to 20 stocks, until they've had time to sort themselves out so you can pull the weeds and let the flowers bloom. It can take a year or so to establish a portfolio, I think.
Yeah. And we know the system works over long term.
Yeah.
You know, you end up with good companies that outperform the rest of the market, generally speaking. Well, that's it for QAV America this week. Let's go get out of the heat.
Yes.
Go and
drag
get back in front of the air conditioning.
Drag some to the US. They can warm
Are you going to play golf tonight?
Oh, not in. It's going to be 39 down here in an hour's time, so no, I don't think so.
No?
No. And I've played 3 times over the weekend, so I'll give the body a rest.
Well, I'm going to go do 3 hours of Kung Fu anyway.
In a tin shed with no air conditioning?
There is a bit of air conditioning, but it doesn't work very well. Lots of fans.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I always say, like, I come to sweat. That's why I come here. I come here to sweat. So, you know, it's all good. It doesn't smell good. You got like 25 people in a room,
right,
all sweating together, but, you know, that's okay.
Is that why the coats you wear have the big open sleeves?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you can smell it.
Or
smell the Kung Fu.
Get rid of the odor.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Into somebody's nostrils. What was the Spinal Tap album? Sniff the Glove? Yeah. Smell the glove, I think.
Smell the glove, I think.
We often do that because we wear, you know, pads and gloves and that kind of stuff, and they smell. We just like stick it in somebody's face and go, smell the glove. Yeah. All right. Thank you, TK. Thank you, everyone. Happy Nissy. Have a good